There is a looming food crisis that is upon Nigeria. In fact, part of Nigeria is already experiencing food crisis. These are not my words. In March 2022, United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization report revealed that about 9.4 million Nigerians will face food insecurity between the month of June and August 2022. The report also said that the food crisis will affect Nigerians in about 21 states and FCT, including internally displaced persons. But the report, which was processed in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, analyzes acute food and nutrition insecurity in the Sahel and West African region. But here are the implications of this. Part of the country is already experiencing food crisis as a result of food inflation and a continuous hike in the prices of consumables, as about 14.4 million people, including 385,000 IDPs of Nigeria, are already in the food crisis till May 2022. That's according to that report. But more worrisome is that about 9.4 million more Nigerians spread across 21 states and FCT will yet experience food crisis between June this year and August 2022. Some of the states covered in the analysis include Abia, Adamawa, Benue, Borno, Cross River, Edo, Enugu, Gombe, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Lagos, Niger, Plateau, Sokota, Tarba, Yobe, and Zamfara, and of course, including the Federal Capital Territory. Recall in 2021, the FAO estimated that 12.8 million Nigerians will go into famine between June and August 2021. But also corroborating the report of a leading of the UN is a leading global management consulting firm, Boston Consulting Group, recently in a report said Nigeria and 44 other countries around the world are severely exposed to the impact of the Ukraine war-induced food crisis. Well, the report highlighted the war in Ukraine and the rush to feed the world factors that has posed the country to the multiple direct and indirect impacts of the turmoil in Ukraine on global food systems. But here is the question. So what are some of the fundamental causes of these challenges? An estimated of 1.7 billion people, most of them in developing economies, could suffer severely increased food insecurity, higher energy prices, or greater debt burdens, according to the UN Task Team for the Global Crisis Response Group. But the report for the month of March identified insecurity, especially insurgency in the northeast states, mostly in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, armed banditry and banditry in some northwest states such as Sokota, Katsina, Zamfara, and Kaduna state, as well as north-central states of Benue and Niger, as key drivers to the upcoming food crisis. Meanwhile, high inflation in soaring food commodity prices, which could be associated with an economic downturn, will contribute to the hunger crisis. Well, the recent NBS report, National Bureau of Statistics report, is a confirmation to this report as food inflation rose from 18.37% in April to 19.5% in May 2022. And this trend is likely to continue according to the World Bank prediction. Well, the International Monetary Fund is worried that the current crisis coincided with high debt levels in many developing economies around the world, largely due to public spending to address the challenges presented by COVID-19, and about 60% of low-income countries are currently in or at risk of debt distress, compared with just about 30% in 2015. This is according to IMF. Well, let me also give you a bit of this, that Nigeria spent over 27 times of its agricultural allocation to service its debt, compounded with the Ukraine war and the lingering challenges of COVID-19. The average debt to GDP ratio across the continent is expected to rise from 60% to 70%. That's according to IMF report. But Nigeria imported weight worth about 1.29 trillion naira in 2021. representing about 71.1% increase compared to 756.92 billion naira recorded in the previous year, and more than triple the 401.31 billion naira. So according to the latest NBS report on wheat production in 2021, there are 13 states that produce wheat in Nigeria. However, we are unable, or Nigeria is unable to feed its own people. So Nigeria, for instance, the total hectares of cultivated land for wheat production across all 13 states is about 11,820, while total yield per hectare was about 3,126, and total production was 36.9 million metric tons. So how can the gap, this huge gap, be closed? That's a big question. But let me also give you a bit of this, that Nigeria's wheat demand could reach about 6.5 million metric tons this year, 2022. That's 13% more than 2021, according to the United States Department of Agriculture. But take a pause now to think about this. So what can be done to address this critical crisis? The answer to this question requires urgent actions from the government to prevent the nation from sinking deeper into its food insecurity crisis. However, this is what some stakeholders are suggesting to address this situation. First is the FAO, a Food and Agriculture Organization. This is what they are suggesting, that according to the country representative, Fred Cafero, the Nigerian government must embark on serious work on national planning, design and implementation of a national food systems transformation action plans, and should allocate more financial resources to fully support the processes. Well, the position of Boston Consulting Group in addressing this crisis is that the current crisis requires a coordinated and immediate emergency humanitarian response by all stakeholders, including governments, development institutions, banks, NGOs, and private companies, to meet the most pressing needs for humanitarian aid. Well, they must provide not only food and financial support, according to the BCG group, but also the seed, the input, the tools, the equipment, technical assistance needed to support every country's action. Well, I think this is where Nigerian government needs to wake up to responsibility. Well, industry players, however, have warned that the warnings should not be ignored. Some of the warnings, of course, by the World Bank and BCG, and of course, the one from AFAO should not be ignored, and more so that signs are already glaring and reflected in the high cost of food items in the market. Well, you're watching IBrandTV, coming to you. Of course, we're broadcasting live from Lagos, the center of excellence here. This is Business Breakfast. We take a moment now, and when we come back, of course, we have an analyst to do more justice, or perhaps give us more insight into the impact and the implications of this development. Please stay with us.